Hariom students, all of you are obeying the instructions given by our government for our safety. You maintain 2-meter distance away in public place. Always you remember it. Today, what is the meaning of Samji saying know your culture? Then there will be a message in your activities and you will feel more fulfilled. നമ്മൾക്ക് ആദ്യം നമ്മുടെ സംസ്കാരത്തെ അറിയാം. സംസ്കാരത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് നന്നായിട്ട് അറിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രവൃത്തികളിലെല്ലാം അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു പ്രതിഫലനം നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ സാധിക്കും. നമുക്കതൊരു പൂർണ്ണതയിൽ എത്തിക്കാനായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് സാധിക്കും. നമ്മുടെ സംസ്കാരം അറിഞ്ഞ് നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന പ്രവൃത്തികളെല്ലാം നല്ല രീതിയിൽ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. അപ്പം നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും നമ്മുടെ സംസ്കാരത്തെ ഉൾക്കൊണ്ട് വേണം ജീവിക്കുവാൻ. ഓക്കെ, ടുഡേ വി ക്യാൻ സ്റ്റഡി എ ന്യൂ ലെസൺ, സ്ക്വയേഴ്സ് ആൻഡ് സ്ക്വയർ റൂട്ട്സ്. What is first we can study square numbers. What is a square number? The numbers which can be expressed as the product of the number with itself are called square numbers. If a number can be expressed as a product of the number itself, then that number is called a square number. For example, 36. We can write it as 6 into 6. 4 is equal to, we can write the product of the number with itself. 2 into 2 is 4. Then one more example, Siddharth, 16. 4 into 4 is 16. Then 25. 25 is equal to 5 into 5. Then Parthsarthi say another example, a number which can be multiplied by itself. 49 is equal to 7 into 7. So these type of numbers are called as square numbers. 36, 4, 16, 25, 14. These are all square numbers. Why it is called square numbers? Because the numbers can be expressed as the product of the number with itself. Here 36 is equal to, we can multiply 6 into 6. The number with itself, we will multiply the number with itself, we will get a 36. Then 4 is equal to 2 into 2. Number, we multiply a number by the number itself. 2 into 2 is 4. Here also 16. 4 into 4. 25. 5 into 5. 49. 7 into 7. Then 84. Then 100. 100 is equal to 10 into 10. 10 into 10 is 100. Okay. So if we multiply a number by the number itself, we will get a number. That number is called a square number. Therefore, what are the square numbers here? The square numbers are 36, 4, 16, 25, 49, 100, etc. called a square numbers. Therefore, 36, 4, 16, 25, 49, 100, etc. are called as square numbers. Are called as square numbers. So what is a square number? Neha, a square number is if we multiply, if a number can be expressed with the product of the number itself, then it is called a product of the number with itself are called the square numbers. For example, 36 we can write it as 6 into 6. 4 we can write as 2 into 2. 16 is equal to 4 into 4. 25 is equal to 5 into 5. 49 is equal to 7 into 7. 100 is equal to 10 into 10. So these numbers are all called as square numbers because it can be expressed as the product of the number with itself. Okay. So here 36, 4, 16, 25, 49, 100, etc. are called as square numbers. So what is a square number? A square number, the numbers which can be expressed as the product of the number with itself. You remember it, the product of the number with itself are called square numbers. For if 18, can you write this as the product of the number with itself? We cannot write 18 with the we can write 18 as 2 into 9, but it is not of the form the product of the number with itself. So is it a square number? 18 is not a square number. Okay. Then 24, can you express it as the product of the number with itself? No. So 24 is, we can write 24 as the product of two numbers, 2 into 12 or 4 into 6, but it is not of the form the product of the number with itself. So these are all not square numbers. So what is a square number? The square number is, if we can express it as the product of the number with itself, are called square numbers. Others are not square numbers. So these numbers are not square numbers. So you remember it. Okay. These are not square numbers. Not square numbers. Next we can study some properties of square numbers. First property, all square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. If we take the units place of a square number, it ends with a 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. Second property is square numbers can have only even number of zeros at the end. Square numbers will have only even number of zeros at the end. For example, 10. How many zeros are there? Only one zero, odd number. Then it is not a square number. So square numbers will have even number of zeros at the end. First property is all square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. Second property is that square numbers can have only even number of zeros at the end. Okay, remember these properties. Now we can do one problem. Say whether the following numbers are perfect square. First one, 1057. First question is 1057. Is it a perfect square? Dear, if it is a perfect square, what is the property of a perfect square number? All square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place is a perfect square. Here the number, the ones digit end with the digit 7. The units place digit is 7. So is it a perfect square? So it is not a perfect square. All the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. Therefore here the units place digit is 7. Units place digit is 7. All the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. Therefore, is it a perfect square? Therefore, 1057 is not a perfect square. Not a perfect square. So, if it is a perfect square, then it ends with the digit 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. Here, it ends with the digit 7. So, this 1057 is not a perfect square. Second question, 23,453. 23,453. Rohit, is it a perfect square? To check whether it is a perfect square, you look at the units place digit. What is the units place digit here? It is 3. Yeah, it is not in this list. All the square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. Here the units place digit end with the 3. Here the units place digit is 3. Digit is 3. Then we know that all the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 in units place. 9 at units place. At units place. Therefore, what we can say, is it a perfect square? Therefore, 23,453 is not a perfect square. Not a perfect square. Perfect square. So to check whether it is a perfect square, we look at the units place digit. Here the units place digit is 3. So here the we know that all the square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. So here the units place digit is 3. So what we can say, 23,453 is not a perfect square. Okay. This, here the units place digit is 3. So this number is not a perfect square. Okay. Then what is our third question? Third question is 7,928. 7,928. Archana, is it a perfect square? What is the digit in the units place? It is 8. Then what are the numbers in the for a perfect square in the units digit? 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. So it is not a perfect square. Here the units place digit is 8. Is 8. Therefore, the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 in units place, or 9 in units place. Therefore what we can say, therefore this 7,928 is not a perfect square. Is not a perfect square. Not a perfect. So here the units place digit is 8. We know that the square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 in units place. Therefore 7,928 is not a perfect square. Fourth question, 1,069. 1,069. Madhavas, is it a perfect square? To check whether it is a perfect square, you look at the units place digit. Here the units place digit is 9. Then we know that all the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 the units place. Here the number end with the digit 9. So is it a perfect square? So 1069 is a perfect square. Then we write here the units place digit is 9. Therefore all square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 in units place. So what we can say? Therefore here the this digit end with the 9. The units place digit is 9. Therefore what we can say? Therefore 1069 is a perfect square. Is a perfect square. So to check whether this number is a perfect square, we look at the units place digit. Here the units place digit is 9. Then we know that all square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. Here the units place digit end with the digit 9. So what we can say? Therefore 1069 is a perfect square. This number is a perfect square. Therefore what is a square number? If a number is multiplied by itself, we get a square number. For example, 36 is equal to 6 into 6. If you multiply 6 by 6, we will get 36. So 36 is a perfect square. So what is a square number? If a number is multiplied by itself, we get a perfect square number. Okay, then what are the properties of a square numbers? All square numbers end with the 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. Then square numbers can have only even number of zeros at the end. For example, 10. 10, it's only odd number of zeros. Then it is not a perfect square. Then you can 100, it has even number of zeros. So it is a perfect square. Then 1000, 1000 is not a perfect square because it has odd number of zeros at the end. So if it is even number of zeros, then that number is a perfect square. Okay. So the properties of square numbers are all square numbers end with the, you remember it, 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9 at units place. Square numbers can have only even number of zeros at the end. So by looking the digit in the units place, we can say whether the numbers are a perfect square or not. For example, here we look at the 1069 with the digit in the units place is 9. So the square numbers end with 0, 1, 4, 5, 6 or 9. Here the units place digit is 9. So what we can say 1069 is a perfect square. But this number is not a perfect square. Why? Because the digit in the units place is 7. So if the square numbers never end with the digit 7. So 1057 is not a perfect square. So you remember this properties. Otherwise you cannot do this type of problems. Okay. We can do more questions in the next class. Assignments will be given through Google Classroom. Thank you and Hari.